All right, everyone. So it's almost New Year's. In about probably like 30 seconds in Texas, it's going to be New Year's. So I'm going to pop this champagne, and then I'll get onto the video. But I'm looking at the New Year's timer for on CNN for New York, and it's about 1:55 right now. But it's very close in Texas. So right when it switches, I'm going to uncap this, and it's going to be New Year's. And I actually did set down a towel because I expect this to go everywhere. So, let's see. Well, it's New Year's right now in Texas, so it's about time. Happy New Year's, everybody. That's what I was looking for. Some champagne right up the nose. Alright, so in about 1 minute and 16 seconds, it'll be New Year's in New York. But, it's New Year's in Texas. It's a whole new year, 2018. Hell, man, I didn't even think I'd make it this far. I mean, well, recently I have, but in the recent past, years back, but about 5-6 years back, I didn't think I'd make it this far. So it's pretty awesome to have made it this far. And the only way I did is by evolving my spiritual nature, becoming someone that I actually wanted to be. It took time. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of soul searching for me to find the connections within that I needed to make, and the connections with other people, with my purpose on this earth, with what I want to leave behind, and realizing how small I was. I mean, there are many different things that I learned spiritually that show how small I am, and the more I learn, the more I realize that. And at first, it can be disheartening when you realize how small you are. And then, over time, you start to see, well, not only can I work my way up, but this universe is vast and beautiful, and the gods are vast and beautiful, and the source, or God, is vast and beautiful, and everything is connected. Everything's a part of the same body, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to look at yourself in the face and say, well, I'm glad I hit another year. And in New York, it's officially 2018. And Happy New Year, everybody on the East Coast. So now we'll go ahead and get down to some personal, spiritual New Year's resolutions. Now, for me, I feel the year's starting to pass very quickly. Before, they seemed to drag on, but now they feel like they're passing quickly. Yet, there is so much that I've learned and experienced within that these years are very compact. And in one way, they pass quickly, as in, I feel like I'm getting older. And in another way, they seem very dense with self-realization. So a personal spiritual New Year's resolution for me would be to not disvalue the time that I have on this earth. Because that's a very basic one, but this is just what I'm starting off with. Not to hold yourself as being someone who will live forever, and thinking that you can't make some impact on this earth, because every single one of us can. And it doesn't have to be in big ways, and it's kind of ignorant of us for us to say that each and every single one of us can make a bigger impact than anybody else. Like me saying that I can make a bigger impact than my next door neighbor, or even somebody that I know that's very materialistic. I can make just as much impact as everybody else. We all have that same potential. The key is figuring out how you could do it. We're all born with a certain amount of skill. You could say it's the original caste system. Do what you're good at. Find what you're good at and do it. And that's really what the caste system was about. But I don't really want to get into that. But I would urge you to follow that very same rule. For you to find purpose in this world, as far as, this is my opinion, the way I found purpose in this world is by analyzing myself, realizing my temperament, realizing the influences that brought my temperament to be, and my interests to be, and my emotions to be, really dissecting who I am, and going towards improving myself, but trying to employ what isn't the influence of the world on me, but what I naturally am without all of these external social influences. Who am I and who was I before I had social influences? And you could say nobody. A lot of people believe that we're all social influence, but I think everybody is born with a particular thing that they're good at. And maybe multiple things, and maybe they're small, and maybe they're big. It doesn't matter. We're all born in a very unique way. Human beings are very unique, every single one of us. So another personal spiritual New Year's resolution would be this is a basic one, but I need to meditate more. I have not been meditating like I should. And I feel like it fell by the wayside because at one point I decided that I didn't need it, or I got too lazy, and maybe a combination of both. And really, meditation is what allows us to calm our mind, to really analyze who we are, where we are, and how we move forward spiritually, emotionally, mentally, societally. Without meditation, you really can't calm your mind enough to really take a breath and step back. Stepping back and looking at your life and analyzing yourself and trying to find that connection that exists in all our hearts towards everything else. There's a invisible thread that exists in our hearts, and it connects us to everything else. Matter, energy, all forms of life. Space itself, there's more of a fabric that exists than a separation. It's because of our finite senses that we think that there are spaces between things, but really, reality is this mesh of energy, and even perceiving time itself is an illusion because we don't understand the true relativity of complete oneness. So realizing oneness, calming your mind enough to where you can actually view it, to where you can actually find that thread and trace it back to everything else, is very important. It's probably one of the most important things you can do. And not everybody needs to meditate. But most people do. The vast majority of people. I've met some people that their state of mind was meditative. They were just walking around and they were just an enlightened person. But most people do need it. And there are people downstairs that I'm going to hang out with soon, but I'll go ahead and continue on with this video. And cheers. All right, so third spiritual New Year's resolution. The third one would have to be trying to realize that my ego still exists. There are times when I think that my ego doesn't exist and that there's something special about me where I can see past, and then my ego kind of tells me, oh, you're better than everybody because you think you can see past. And then I step back, I'm like, oh shit, my ego is telling me that. And that's why it's important to really have your conscience have a very firm holding in your mind. When you think something, have your conscience actually analyze it. Don't just use your raw emotion to say, oh yeah, screw those people, or oh, I'm better than them, or forget that. Try to analyze why you think what you think. Try to analyze the reasons you think what you think. And if you can do that, if you can train your conscience enough to really analyze every single emotional reaction that you have to the world, then you will find yourself on a far firmer footing in the world and within yourself than anybody, well, the vast majority of humanity, because most of us respond with emotional vigor in one way or another. Anger, hatred, despair, pessimism. But there is something within us that we can train in order to really catch that. A guard, not necessarily a guard dog, but maybe a watchman that always guards the wall that contains our ego, and the ego wants to be isolated. The thing is, we can either choose to jump into that wall enclosure with our ego and be separated, or we can choose to ally with the watchman and get them to help us get beyond those walls that the ego isolates us within. This is something that I've learned, never think that there isn't another step just right there. There's always something we can do right now. There's always some small step we can make in order to progress as a spiritual person, in order to progress in an all-encompassing way to oneness, to where everything within ourselves can be affected by even these small decisions, everything that we are, and towards the positive. And I'm going to go ahead and name one more personal, spiritual New Year's resolution, and that's to find all of the research that I need in order to expand what I know about every single religion and spiritual tradition, because a very big part of who I consider I am is trying to find these connections and trying to bring people to these connections. Trying to help people see that all of our beliefs aren't isolated. We all exist as a coherent spiritual tradition that is humanity. We all exist as different parts, vital parts of the grander whole. And without every other tradition and religion, any one religion wouldn't be the same. I mean, besides the butterfly effect, but definitely that. We exist by exchange, by spiritual exchange with other systems, other religions. And I need to expand what I know, I need to expand it further. And I've researched and read many books, but I need to expand that further so that these connections can be more easily encouraged in other people, because I believe that these connections exist, and everything that I've seen and researched and read shows me that these connections are real between everybody, between every path. But I need more. I need even more evidence for myself and for other people, because I feel responsibility for myself and for everyone else that I'm trying to talk to and encourage towards unity, towards a working relationship with every other path, whatever religion or spiritual tradition you're a part of. So these have been my personal spiritual New Year's resolutions. I hope that they've been interesting. I hope that it wasn't too mundane. But hey, feel free to shoot me a like if you thought this video was interesting at all. Feel free to shoot down a question or your own New Year's spiritual resolutions in the comment section below. I'd love to hear them. I respond to most comments, especially if they're polite. I respond to them. Hey, thank you for being here. I'm going to go ahead and take off and go hang out with the people I was going to hang out with. But even if you're alone, remember, you're never really alone. So find that thread within. Y'all have a great day.